What's up guys, Lockie here, and in this video I'm going to explain why if you want to get rich fast, you have to get rich slowly. I was fortunate to build my business to $1 million a month by the age of 26, and I made a huge mistake everyone on the internet is promoting. So let's dive into my screen and let's talk about why getting rich slowly is actually the only way that works. And this is a super boring message, and this obviously is not a very sexy headline. It's because selling get rich quick works for broke people. It works, that messaging, for the majority of the marketplace. But if you've made any money, you'll know that it doesn't actually work. And I'm gonna explain why in a way you've never heard about here right now in this video. But first, let me tell a story about how I learned this lesson with a bag fumble. Okay, so during COVID, okay, I ran an agency. We built it to 3.5 million. Then COVID happened in Melbourne, Australia, wiped out basically our entire agency because all the businesses had to close. And so this is me in my parents' basement on the screen here, building our product, our education business, teaching people how to start their own agency because we'd successfully scaled it to millions a year. However, we couldn't operate anymore because we were in lockdown due to COVID. So a great idea to sell people in America on how to start their own agency. And it went very, very well. And so I wrote a webinar to sell our program. And I wrote it here from this trestle table, parents' basement chair in this little office setup that I put together. And it worked really, really well because I was really good at selling and marketing. Okay. So we actually scaled from $0 to $640,000 a month in 90 days flat. It was actually a little less than 90 days, and we did this 100% on YouTube ads. Let me actually screenshot so you can see it a little bit more closely. So this is the daily, so this cost per conversion here is our cost per opt-in for the webinar, so our cost per lead. We tracked refunds, refund value. Then this was new sales. So you could see we were doing a lot of volume, okay? And I wasn't having to take any sales calls to do this. And I would have been at this age, I think it would have been 21. You can see our gross sales, like 20K days, 30K days, 23K days, 20K days. Like I'd have to put this in the chat GPT to get the average here, but like well over 20,000 cash every single day. You can see like probably an average of like 18, 17 new people every day. And this is our net profit. So this is the cash profit on the front end, okay? Really, really high. You can see we're doing like, again, I'd have to do the averages here. We're probably averaging like $8,000 to $9,000 a day net profit without me having to pick up the phone. From my parents' basement, and I lived in Australia, we were running this in the US, so it was pretty cool. I'd wake up and we'd be at like $12,000 already in sales for that day because of the time zone difference, obviously. And you can see the same day ROAS. And then over here, you can see the CPA. This is not the full month. See, we're at 618,000 in cash collected at a 2.3 ROAS. After ad spend and refunds, 244,000 in net profit at 21 from my parents' basement. Pretty cool, okay? So it worked, but then I proceeded to fumble the bag in a historic way because I didn't get the lesson I'm about to teach you here, okay? This is just another statistics of like the ad accounts. You can see last 30 days, Google ads, 38,000.4 conversions. That was people opting in. So well over 1,000 people signing up every single day for the webinar, paying $7.80. And the cost you can see was basically 300,000 for that last 30-day period. But this is the important thing, okay? See this here? See this spike? I wanted to get rich quick, okay? I was like, holy shit, this is working. Let me just blow up ad spend, okay? And I know if you're a young guy watching this, you've made a little bit of money or you're starting your business, you wanna get rich fast. You wanna get rich quick. And you are going to fumble the bag just like I fumbled the bag if you don't get this lesson, okay? So you can see how sharp this incline was, because this is like 30 days, right? So this period here is probably like 23 of those days, maybe more, 25. And then this period here is like a 5-day period where you can see we absolutely skyrocketed the ad spend on the campaign, okay? So I actually pushed this myself to around about $28,000 a day in ad spend. So I was spending about $28,000 a day at the peak in ad spend. We probably averaged around about $20,000, maybe $17,000 a day in ad spend. You could do the math over here and reverse engineer the ROAS and everything like that to get that, but I'm too lazy to do that. So what happened was we scaled so fast because I was so hungry to get rich quick that the business couldn't operationally handle the amount of volume that we were putting into it. So the onboarding and the delivery broke, and we had the next month $250,000 worth of refunds that we had to process because the delivery and the onboarding and everything was so bad because we fumbled it. And we go back to the profit. Look at the profit, right? So guess how much money we made? None. Guess how many clients we had to service to make zero money? All of these clients. All these clients. I'm not going to do the math here. I'm just going to guess we're probably doing 300 minimum new clients per month. So 300 onboarding calls, 300 clients, customer support tickets, all that kind of stuff, okay? This was a pretty historical bag fumble on my end, okay? So here is the lesson. This is the lesson. I can promise you've never heard this before because I've literally never heard anyone talk about this on the internet. I had to learn this the hard way, okay? Your business, your market, wherever you're scaling, it is in the center of two Venn diagrams. So over here, this is the market, okay? You have this green Venn diagram. This is new people entering into your marketplace. So for example, for my business, the education business, it was people who didn't like their normal jobs. They wanted some more income and wanted more freedom. This was people who are entering into the marketplace. And over here on the far left side, these are people who have no interest in this at all. They'll never spend a dime on it. That as their mind slowly opens up to change, they slowly move closer and closer and closer in until they're in this middle section here, which is people who are willing to buy now. Then you have this second circle of the Venn diagram, which is people leaving the marketplace. Maybe someone's been burnt. Maybe someone just had a kid and now they need to settle down and then they don't have the risk appetite to start their own business. So they're going more and like locking in more in their normal 9-to-5 job, whatever it is. If this is weight loss, this is people over here who are completely happy with them, put on a little bit of weight maybe, but then they slowly put on too much weight, start to look in the mirror, feel a bit ashamed, and they move closer and closer into the center. Then they become a person who would be willing to buy your weight loss product or whatever it is. And then as they start to get in better shape, they start to move out of this and they're no longer in the market to buy weight loss products. I hope this makes sense. Okay, so I didn't understand this. Typically, most business owners, when they think about their market, they just think about this huge Venn diagram and everyone's in buy now. But they're really not. What happens is you burn through this pool if you advertise too fast. This is the thing I want you to hear, and too inefficiently, okay? If you advertise too fast and too inefficiently, you burn through this pool without making the maximum amount of profit. That is the key, okay? So essentially, what I learned through this process and I've applied to my businesses is what you want to do is, let's just use fake numbers here, for example. Let's say there's 5 million people entering, there's 5 million people buying now, and there's 5 million people leaving at any given time of your marketplace, okay? That means you have 5 people you can market to at all times. Now, if you're getting, I don't have to do heaps of math off the top of my head. Let's just say 1 million impressions per day on your ads, okay? How many days is it gonna take for you to effectively burn through your entire marketplace of people buying now? 5 days, okay? You're just using simple math, right? So what that means is you want to be as efficient as possible with your ads to make the most profit as possible and have the highest ROAS at the lowest, smallest scale. So what I did over here, which was the mistake, it was I saw something that was working and then I immediately doubled ad spend, tripled ad spend, quadrupled ad spend. We went from $1,000 a day in ad spend to $28,000 a day in ad spend in maybe 50 days. Okay, and while that's good, while there's a good lesson to learn there for more, always do more instead of starting a new business, I got too excited by making more money and seeing the top line revenue number grow that I stopped focusing on making the business better to earn and justify the scale, and I just went for scale. You would be shocked about how many people online flex $1 million in a month. They're doing 250K a month, they're making 150K a month, and they are making very, very little personally. And that's not the goal of business, the goal, unless you want to sell the asset or whatever, but most people aren't doing that. It's really uncommon to sell a business successfully. So the goal is to scale really slowly but do it with the fattest profit margin as possible. Now, sometimes you will make sacrifices in profit to scale. It's a bit of a to and fro. Typically you do that. However, you want to be really smart about it. So what I would have done here instead was, I wish I recognized this, because let's say you have 5 million people, and I'll go to my little next slide here. Let's say you have 5 million people in that middle section, okay? You can do $1 million a month from that 5 million people, but only make 100K a month in profit at a 10% profit margin. Or you can do 400K a month. You can make 200K, okay, so double the amount of profit. And here's the key thing. Let's just pretend this is 500K, so I don't have to do complicated math. You can burn through the pool of people at half the speed. So you can make way more money from less people in the audience. This is absolutely key, because everyone in the internet space these days, especially the make money online space, they're chasing being able to promote that top end number, because it's true, like the higher top end number that you do in revenue, the more you can blast it on socials, the bigger you can build a personal brand or flex how smart you are with business, whatever. But that only works for broke people. So richer people, people who've actually done this, they don't care about $1 million a month. They don't care about 10 million a year. They care about how much does the founder actually keep. Because you can still be a slave to your business doing $1 million a month and making fuck all money. You can look at one of your competitors who's at 400K a month, banking twice as much money, servicing half as many customers with half the team size. And it's cool to have a big team, but realistically, a big team is just responsibility and costs. Like it's cool to have a big team, but like it's just responsibility and costs at the end of the day, twice the amount of problems. And this person will burn through the market and hit a plateau where their ads are fucked and they can't make any money at twice the speed, at 200% of the speed. So like this is a really, really, really big difference. Even if, let's pretend this was 500K again for simple numbers. Let's pretend you're doing $1 million a month, making 100K, or you're doing 500K a month and making 100K as well. You're making the same amount of money with half the problems, okay, which is a way, way, way better outcome. But let's even just put the half the problems aside. You can make that money for twice as long. So by the time this person burns through the entire market and this person burns through the entire market, this person has made twice the profit this person has. But everyone's going to look at the $1 million a month guy and be like, whoa, he's such a gangster. He's so good at business. He's such a genius. They're going to look at the person who's at 500K a month every month and think, man, why has he been at 500K a month for so long? Everyone else is at $1 million a month. But what you won't understand, what you won't see behind the scenes is at the end of that period, let's say it takes 1 year, 2 years, 3 years to burn through the market, this person will have made double the amount of profit with half as much effort or problems or risk. This is a drastic difference, okay? And I didn't get this, I had to learn it the hard way because I was so hungry back here. I was so hungry to hit $1 million a month. It was like the only thing I could think about. I was like, holy shit, this thing's working, right? Let me fucking million X ad spend because I just want to be able to say I did $1 million in a month. And I fumbled hard. Okay, I fumbled hard and it ended up taking me years to eventually hit $1 million in a month. And when I did it the next time for the first time, I did it with a way higher profit margin. And then the next months we could still keep a healthy business running. So this is really key. So let me get to a little bit of for you here. So this is a really good quote to live by. Better equals bigger. Bigger equals bloat. Let me say that again. Better equals bigger. Bigger equals bloat. And so what I mean by this is if you focus on making your business better, it will naturally get bigger. Like it will get bigger by force because your customers will demand it. A really simple example of this is if I had focused, if I just kept our ad spend at like even $5,000 a day and I kept our revenue at like $250,000 a month and had focused all my extra time and effort, not on trying to ramp ad spend and building campaigns and everything to $1 million a month, but instead of focusing on the onboarding, product, focusing on the client results, focusing on a referral system, the client's results would have been so good, they would have bragged to their friends, and then we would have gotten more clients just through word of mouth and referrals. We would have gotten more money and more revenue through people upgrading instead of only buying the initial product and then never buying any upgrades. and the business would have gotten bigger by itself because I focused on making it better. However, I didn't do that because I was young and stupid, and I was chasing like that top line $1 million a month number as fast as I could because I thought it'd be really cool to flex it. And it was a bit of an ego thing. I wanted to hit it as fast as I could. And I didn't even understand that this could happen. There could be such a huge wipeout of the business. Sam Ovens said this a really long time ago, which I love, which is the ultimate grim reaper of business is time. If someone's copying your shit in business, if there's a competitor that's advertising unethically and fucking their customers over or whatever, don't worry about that because they will get staunched by the grim reaper, which is time. And it's only good businesses that can last the length of time with great operators and great products. And so that's why you need to focus on better equals bigger. And the size of your business, you don't want to try to artificially increase it. You want the market to increase it because it's justified based on how good the business is. And this takes thousands of little improvements. It's not one big thing. So here's a little bit of a metaphor for you related to fitness. So in the fitness space, I learned this after a couple of years of weightlifting. If you want to lose weight, you don't want to drastically cut your calories. And I think this is a good example because so many people do this. You want to actually start with the highest possible maintenance calories as you possibly can and lose weight and cut weight, if you're trying to get shredded, on the highest possible calories for the longest period of time possible. But this is slow, this is boring, this doesn't feel like fast results, so most people don't do it, but then eventually they crash and they rebound with their diet. So for example, let's just say you want to lose 10 pounds, 10 kilos, whatever, and you're at your weight you're at right now, okay? And then you sign up with a personal trainer. A good personal trainer would say, okay, let's start you at, I know this is a very high amount, but I weigh a lot and I'm a dude. So let's say you start at 3,000 calories per day or 2,000 calories, 2,500 calories, whatever your weight is, right? What you want to do instinctively to lose the weight, to look good in summer, is you want to, as fast as possible, drop your calories down to 1,400 calories per day. But what happens is when you drop your calories rapidly, or even go from 3,000 to 2,000 to 1,500, your body acclimatizes and it adapts really quickly, and you will inevitably stop losing weight on those calories, despite the fact that your energy's crashing, strength's crashing, you're losing muscle mass, and you'll stop losing weight, right? So what's fucked up about this is then you have to drop the calories even further, and then you eventually get so low you crash and rebound. However, the smart way would be, let's start at 3,000 calories for a week and let's see if you lose weight. Let's say, for example, you don't lose weight. Then you drop down to 2.9 thousand calories for a week. And let's say you lose a tiny little bit of weight, but you keep it there. You're not losing weight as fast as you want, but you are still losing weight. But then let's say after 2 weeks at 2.9 thousand calories, you stop losing weight because your body acclimatizes to it. Then you drop down to, say, for example, 2.7 thousand calories per day. And then you lose weight again for another 2 to 3 weeks. But then again, your body eventually acclimatizes, and then you drop down to 2.5 thousand calories per day. You get the picture here. So you're trying to essentially squeeze the most weight loss as humanly possible out of the maximum number of calories as possible. Because then it may take a little bit longer, but you could be at week 10, week 12 of your weight loss journey, still eating 2.2 thousand calories per day, but look shredded, still have great energy, still have great muscle mass, still be eating nice foods that you like sweet potatoes, things like that, having sauces and cheeses on all your foods. So that is a way, way more efficient way to lose weight. And for people who are in the bodybuilding space, they understand this is how you want to lose weight over a period of years. So you can be shredded, have high energy, and still be eating and consuming a large amount of food. So you never feel like you're starving yourself, you never feel hungry, your energy never depletes, and that kind of stuff. So that's the video. I'm gonna leave you with one final little tip to actually implement this. What I do now is I essentially, in my businesses and in my marketing campaigns, I will set a ROAS threshold. So it's kind of like a rule. I will only increase ad spend while my front end ROAS is XYZ number. I'm just using a 2x here as a completely random number. You have to sit down and actually look at the economics of your business. But once you decide what a healthy ROAS is in alignment with what profit margin you want for your business, you set that as a rule and you say, I will continually increase ad spend. Okay, don't be a pussy. put some money into ads to grow your business. Don't be scared. I will keep putting money into ads until my business drops below the ROAS threshold. So let's say, for example, our business ROAS threshold is 2x and we're at $1,000 a day. If we're at a 2.1x, we increase that bitch. We increase that spend to 1.5K a day. Now let's say our ROAS drops down to 2.08. What do? We keep upping spend, okay? Let's say we up the spend to 3K a day, but then our ROAS drops down to 1.9. What do? Well, we're still making money, but we don't want to double the ad spend to stay, do we? No, because that would be rushed, and what will happen is the grim reaper of business, which is time, will come, pull your pants down, and fuck you, all right? And we don't want that, all right? That's not what we want from the grim reaper of business, okay? We want the grim reaper of business to ignore us, not even see us, we don't want to exist in his eyes, okay? So what we want to do is we pause ad spend. If you're really disciplined, you may even slightly decrease ad spend back to where it was before a little bit. Then we focus on making the business better, improving the business, okay? So the onboarding's good, the marketing campaigns are good, maybe we need new ad creative, maybe we need to train the sales team, maybe our email deliverability sucks, aren't upgrading enough, whatever it is. Then, once at that level of spend, the ROAS goes back to 2.2x, what do? We increase spend again, and we go to 5K a day. Then if it holds, we go to 6K a day. And if it drops below 2, what do? We pause ad spend and we work on it again. I did not have this discipline. And there's also delayed feedback loops. So you may be above a 2x at 1K a day in spend, scale all the way to 5K a day in spend, still be at a 2x, but you did it in a week. So the problems in your business from 1K to 5K a day, it's essentially 5 times the volume of customers typically. Anyway, it may not be a 1-for-1, but comparatively percentage-wise, it will increase by 500%. So the problems that are going to occur from that, you may not see that in that first week, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks. But again, the grim reaper of time, the delayed feedback loop from having to service 500% more customers, putting 500% more stress on your team, on your resources, etc., will catch up to you. It may take 2 weeks, 3 weeks, may take a month, but you may see no drop in ROAS, but 30 days later, you get wrecked with refunds and the refunds start flying through the roof. And here's what's going to happen. Your dispute rate goes up and then your payment processor crashes and they put a hole in your ad spend. They may put 20% hole in your ad spend, on your revenue that you collect. Bang, your whole profit margin's gone. You now have $5,000 a day in ad spend. You now have 5 times the amount of customers comparatively, and you have no profit because they're putting a reserve on essentially your entire profit margin. What are you gonna do? You're cooked. And you couldn't have predicted that. You couldn't have seen that coming, but it happened because you were chasing revenue, not making the business better. So you want to keep solving the problems of your business in advance by focusing on making the business better, and it will naturally get bigger. So that is the video. If you like this, click subscribe. If you want to learn how to actually scale my business from $0 to $640,000 a month in 90 days, I'm going to be releasing a video on that very shortly that's much more tactical to show you how you can apply that stuff to your business. So I'll see you in the next one. Peace.